Happy Thanksgiving. This is the F104 Starfighter. It was developed in the 1950s, early 50s as an interceptor. And that role means it was a plane that flew, it would be sitting on the ground and crews would be ready. And then if they detected that Soviet fighters or bombers were coming, all the crews would immediately go out, and it could climb. It had this huge engine. It could climb at 48,000 feet per minute. And they would get up and they would intercept the bombers before the bombers got over their German and Austrian and maybe even British targets. And occasionally the scheme was fearful of American and Canadian targets. Because it had this huge engine that could take it up to 1,500 miles per hour, had to have these big fuel tanks out on the ends of the wings. And essentially the plane was just a dart. It had very small wings, very sharp wings actually, thin wings. And it took off at over 200 miles per hour. It was when it lifted off the ground. And it had this little landing gear on the bottom that was only rated to like 250 miles per hour before it would get ripped off in the wind. So you'll see the thing take off in the videos, and the pilots, it'll be this far off the ground, and the pilots will be pulling up the landing gear. They had to do it really quickly, otherwise the landing gear would just get stripped off it. Another unique thing about it was because they figured it flies so fast, it was actually comfortable apparently at around 1,000 miles an hour. It was comfortable to fly it. Because it flew so fast, they didn't want the pilot to ever eject. Pilots did have to eject regularly because the engine would fail. They didn't want to have to eject out the top because then the tail might chop the pilot in two. And so it had a downward firing. That's our dogs.
Just a momentary pause. Welcome to our world. Yep, there must be something outside, as usual.
So it had a downward firing ejection seat. And then somebody realized that you couldn't eject at 1,000 miles an hour anyway because you would just crush the pilot in the wind. So they put in a normal ejection seat. It used Sidewinder missiles. This one I designed to be German, as you can see. And it was commonly used during the Cold War, and then it was retired in the 60s.
What was the hardest part of that build?
This is actually fairly straightforward. Getting the nose right, because it's very sharp, very pointy plane. Getting the nose right was difficult, and then I did a different thing than I've ever done to make this really small landing gear, and that took me a couple tries to get it right. But otherwise, it was a fairly straightforward build.
Looks good. Good job, Boo.
Thank you, Boo.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Noisemakers.
Noisemakers. Keep it quiet when Daddy's filming. Yeah, you.